what are your name and pronouns?
I go by Odyssey Eurobeat, or Audie for short, or Odyssey. Some folks call me Jessa, and I go by she, her.
All right. And how do you identify?
I am a trans woman.
Can you tell me a bit about your VTuber model or persona?
Sure thing. So, I didn't really have like a specific thing lined up for, like, I'm not some space robot ninja, any kind of interesting configuration. This is actually based on an outfit that I wore in real life and actually still own. It was one of the last New Year's Eves before I came out properly, and yeah, I just kind of put myself together to celebrate. And it just kind of stuck with me. Like this, my favorite color is red, and I've always loved wearing just very like elegant and long dresses. So it just kind of became me naturally. Like I don't quite put on a persona either. It's just kind of however I like to play along, just in general.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it feels very, what's the word? Iconic. It's a very iconic look for you, I feel.
Thank you. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So it's not surprising. Not everyone has a VTuber model, or like not everyone has like a persona to their model, or like some big backstory. But I think it's kind of what makes it a little more personalized. Is not having some big backstory, but something that feels a little more special to you. You know?
For sure. Although, while I may not have much lore around like myself and my particular model or whatever may be ahead, I am looking into building some lore, some world building around perhaps the setting. So that might be coming along pretty soon.
Hell yeah. Ooh, I'm looking forward to it then.
Yeah. Just like kind of some ways to tie things back to my Eurobeat career. Cause like my VTubing stuff is still pretty straightforward, but, I've spent a lot of time in the Eurobeat world. And like even before I became a VTuber, even before I came out, I was streaming for quite a few years. Just, so there's some things from that time I'd like to bring back, or give a nod to.
Yeah, no, I respect that a lot. Absolutely. And so, how did you ensure that your model represented you?
Ooh, good question. So, in the first case, when I first requested art of it, the way that I sent it was to an artist named Mo. He does amazing work. He's been drawing, like he's a friend of mine and many of my other friends too. And every once in a while I would commission him. And I included not just the actual like Amazon links for what I was wearing at the time, but actually, the pictures that I took. So he drew essentially based on me, like based on, several reference pictures and the actual garments, the actual pieces. And then from there, I took that artwork and brought that to, in this case, it was to Nijitan. Although I did bring that same artwork to Akapolisa, the amazing artist and VTuber behind my previous model, and whoever I'm working with at the time, they get the same references and the same Amazon links and things like that, as well as the artwork by Mo. There's some like differences and some things that are like interpretive, and I love that. So every artist is sort of able to kind of take their own spin, their own approach on it, and I love that. I like seeing where it differs and what they keep intact.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so what drew you to VTubing, and do you find it rewarding?
Ooh, okay. So I remember, finding Q's in an eye pretty early on. It's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of neat, using an avatar as opposed to using a camera. I think at the time, it just struck me as novel. But as it started to get more ubiquitous, as we started seeing more indie, smaller indies back in the day, and like even Hololive and some of the early Nijisanji VTubers, I guess I was actually no, I wouldn't even say it was that. It was when we started seeing more of that in the West. It was like, this seems more accessible nowadays. It seems like the tools are there now, but I don't know. I don't think I really have what it takes. I'm not exactly Hololive level. And then a buddy of mine, Avanil, she's a kitty bat VTuber, and she at the time she wasn't. Actually, have you spoken to Avanil or have you spoken to Avanil yet?
Yeah. Oh yes, I did talk to them. Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
It was a very pleasant conversation. They're an absolute sweetheart.
she is a sweetheart. She's adorable. I tease the absolute hell out of her. So she was actually starting her VTuber journey, and she was like, yeah, I'm thinking of becoming a VTuber, but I don't really have the production value. I'm not sure how much I know about it. I'm like, look, you're going to do fantastic. It's not a matter of if you have, everything lined up or not, or the production value. These are people with teams behind them. You don't need all that to start. You can just be you. And she goes like, oh, yeah, you know what? Let me give that a try. Hey, wait a minute. Why don't you try it? I'm like, well, I don't really have the production skills. I'm not exactly like on that level. But after a while, I remember that was a little bit before I came out. And then I streamed for a couple of months as a face cam streamer. And that was still plenty rewarding. But after a while, it's like, you know what? I'm not sure how I feel about, putting on makeup every time and every day. And worrying about all these little details that would make streams late even. And I started thinking about it again. It's like, you know what? I have a little bit of money that I can put towards VTube Studio. And, I see on Booth, there's a couple of avatars that you can pick up and just kind of try. So, maybe I'll putz around with it and see how I feel about it. And then I started doing those, a little bit at a time, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. And then I became like almost exclusively a VTuber. I still do the occasional face camera stream from time to time. But, for the most part, I just kind of whoopsed into being a full-time VTuber.
As you do, right?
Yeah. A different way to slide down the rabbit hole,
I mean, I feel like it's a little bit, okay, so I am aware you were very much into the Eurobeat scene prior to becoming a VTuber, right? And so I think it feels almost natural, right? It feels right to slowly merge from doing Eurobeat to bringing that into the VTubing scene. It feels right, It feels like it was meant to be. A match made in heaven almost.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I remember I started streaming in general. Originally, it was just to keep myself accountable to producing more, but then over time, it just became a little bit more fun to do slightly, a couple other things, and then, occasionally play a game if I dared. And then over time, streaming itself became so much fun that it almost became like a separate thing. And then once I became a VTuber, people really started to like, oh yeah, this is a separate thing. There are folks that'll hop into my stream and not know that I make Eurobeat, and then there will be folks that have followed my Eurobeat career for like some 16 odd years, and then they're like, first of all, Odyssey's a girl. Second of all, Odyssey's a VTuber.
You also did go by many names from what I heard as well. So
yes,
that attribute to some of the like the whoa, okay, that's Odyssey, huh? Oh, they're a VTuber.
Yeah. Odyssey, Mortimer DNA Team, Ken Blast, which is short for Kendra now. Eurobeat Brony, I am half the internet's DeviantArt face.
Oh God.
Yeah, a few different aliases. So adding a couple of more, at least refining a few over time. I remember actually in the mid 2010s, I started using Jessa as like a side alias because like it's a common practice in the Eurobeat world to, maybe a producer will pitch their voice up or down or whatever to sort of quote unquote create a new alias. And that was kind of my way to like test drive the name before I actually started using it. And, there were jokes about like, oh, hey, why do we never see Odyssey and Jessa in the same room? And I'm like, oh, she's off on a missions trip, deworming the water in external country. So then when the reveal came around, they're like, I'm actually the real one. People are like, wait a minute, wait. Yeah, no, so, collecting a few names like that. And what I love is that a lot of them can still be used exactly as they are. Like, an Odyssey is not inherently gendered, so people can just, oh yeah, that's Audie. Even my niece calls me Auntie Audie.
Oh, that's so cute. Oh,
yeah. I'm her favorite.
Oh my God. Of course, you have to be, right?
Exactly, yeah. I'm a cool aunt that does the voices when we play, when we play with whatever.
Jealous. I do not like that. That's funny because like I knew about you through Tessa, right? But then my partner was like, wait, Odyssey. I was like, they're like, oh yeah, this person named Odyssey Eurobeat like just followed me back. They're a client of Tessa's as well. And they were like, wait, Odyssey. I was like, and I went on, okay, I poked a little bit, right? I went onto like your card and like your website and I was like, yeah, this is their prior name. Apparently they have multiple names they go by. And he was like, wait, Ken Blast, wait. Yeah. And he turns out he's a huge fanboy.
Oh, right on. Yay. Yeah.
So I was like, oh no, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So that's how I knew about like, that's how I started learning more about your music. And I was like, oh wait, I already liked Eurobeat either way. Like, man, I can't believe I didn't know this. I didn't know this person like also made Eurobeat music that like I've actually heard before. So it was really cool.
Like, I spent a lot of time in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, actually just really steeping in that world. Like whether it was, like commercial releases, like the stuff that ended up on the Super Eurobeat series and then later to Initial D, or just like even the Toho world. Like I just got back from Toho Fest a couple of days ago and had the incredible honor of performing alongside A1 with like Elementus, Root, and Aki, as well as Shihori and Renko, legends in their own right. And then even just like MLP, like the Brony fandom, it turns out that I accidentally might have had the first fan music for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, so I might have accidentally whooped my way into inventing Brony music.
Oh no!
So like,
you know not what you've done.
I've been there. Yeah, like I was just putzing around. Like if I like something, I'll make Eurobeat of it. Like that's even the case now for like VTubers. Like even outside of my own just original work, like I've done a lot of remixes of like Numi's work in particular.
Okay. That's really cool.
So like,
wow, yeah, I did hear about Toho Fest recently. I saw your post show up on my feed. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. It looks like you had a great time, and I'm really happy to see that. You deserve all the love in the world. Seriously, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I'm also,
so much.
I'm really proud of you for coming out and like, you know, being yourself and like slowly coming into yourself through VTubing. You know, it's always a very heartwarming thing to see. Genuinely.
Thank you. And yeah, like, that is something that I do think came a lot easier once I started VTubing. It's like, well, I'm never underdressed, and just being able to kind of play around with it a little bit, you know, in ways where I'd be a little bit more insecure if it was a direct camera thing, but this gives me a little bit of room to kind of just open up a little bit more. So I'm very grateful to, you know, sticking with the VTubing thing in a lot of ways.
Yeah, of course. And so, could you share with me some of the highs and lows of your journey being transgender in the VTubing space?
Ooh, sure. I remember some time back actually had the pleasure of meeting quite a few noted like trans artists and like comic artists and folks in the space. Like I got to meet IRL Donut, and through her I got to meet AV and Azul Crescent and
awesome.
so many other. Yeah. Like I got to hang out with folks that have been making comics online that I've been seeing for some time. Like, wait a minute, that's you. Oh my gosh.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and like it's been fascinating to kind of find out my place in the space in general, because like I kind of keep my head down for the most part. And you know, whenever someone reaches out, it's like, wait a minute, really? Like me? You want to hang out with me or whatever? Because like, left to my own devices, I'll just keep my head down, make Eurobeat, and make the occasional booba mommy jokes.
You're just like, I'm just a gal.
Yeah, exactly. But then like, you know, I'll do something like what was it? I made a clip of one of my streams where you know, people would send in suggestions for my throne gifts. And I had a particularly strong reaction to a couple of vintage dresses, and I posted one of them to Instagram Reels. It's almost 750,000 views.
Holy!
So apparently it took off on like trans Instagram for a hot minute.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, because like I didn't do much with Instagram at all, but then it's like, oh gosh, okay. So I've been extremely like pleasantly surprised to see just where I've been well received. I would say a low point would be like there's some stigma in you know, some of the spheres that I run in about like, first of all, just with VTubers, second of all with like folks that make Eurobeat that are not, you know, 50, 60 Italian 50, 60-year-old Italian men. And there were a few folks that, you know, started going out of their way to kind of spin this narrative that I had done this for press.
Oh, BS.
You know, for attention.
Oh,
and,
BS.
Yeah, and the thing was like, when I came out, it actually, look, I came out on Twitch for the sole purpose of the fact that it's like, look, it's gonna happen. I stream on camera enough at this time, you're gonna see me. What I did not expect was a write-up from Pink News.
Oh, that's fun.
They took that. Yeah, like, and it was a good thing. Like, the article was nice. It was sweet. It was well done. But like, I didn't expect that. That completely caught me off guard. But you know, a few people ran with this, like, oh, you know, Odyssey's doing this for clout. Odyssey's, you know, doing this for that, and
they always have their own narrative for you, don't they?
Right. It's as if they know me so damn well.
Mm-hmm. But they don't. They have no clue.
And like. But like, I will say that my experience has been surprisingly positive. I remember there was some stuff going on to where I was ready for my coming out to be met with a lot of harm. I was kind of like, okay, you know what? I know where I've been in the past, and I know how people will react, or I thought that I knew how people would react. So I was like, okay, before the day that I came out, I'm like, look, all right, mods, here's the safety procedures, here's what to ban, here's what to look for, and then I went for it, and it was met with a lot of applause, like a lot of celebration. I remember folks kind of reacted in one of three ways. One was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Odyssey, trans, a woman? No way. Two were like, you know what? Actually, yeah, that kind of checks out. Yeah, I feel like that kind of clicks. And the third ones were like, damn it, why did she take this long? We've known for a hot minute now. And it's like, I did not know that I set off that many like radars in that regard. But like, I know it's been surprisingly positive. Even like in the last, we're getting up on 3-4 years now. And it is yet to get like, I mean, it's not to say that there hasn't been, some rough spots or some times that have scared me, but for the most part, it's been extremely positive. This is the happiest I've been just at my baseline in just my life and ever. I feel like I've over-explained the highs and the lows a little bit there, but
no, you're fine. Hey, anything that you tell me, right, is gonna help, add to like, your story and your experiences so people can understand you and like, what you've been through a bit better. So
fair enough.
Then there's never over-explaining. Unless you're giving me like overly personal details, there's no over-explaining. You're all good.
I do have one detail that kind of came back up during Toho Fest. Every once in a while, folks will come and ask me if my trans experience has like, or that identity, like kind of keeping that to myself at the time, influenced my art and influenced my music. And for a little while, I was like, well, not really. Like I can think of maybe 1 or 2 songs, and then they'll send me lyrics, and I'm like, this wasn't about being trans. This was about being trans. And that recently happened with some of the work that I did in Toho, because like I'll usually write, either from the character's perspective or adjacent to the character, and it's like I'm not entirely sure. I'm not well enough studied on like Toho lore to understand if any particular characters are trans, or even there might be some that might be transcoded. But there was a song that I wrote about Yomu, like a half ghost character, and some friends were like, "Hey, was adequate about being trans?" And at the time, I was like, "Well, no. What are you talking about?" And then I reread the lyrics.
Oh,
it's like, oh Lord, okay, yep, this is, wow. I kind of cracked, I kind of chipped away at my own eggshell there, didn't I?
Unintentionally, but it's there.
I wasn't supposed to do that. Oh my gosh.
Oh, my bad. Oopsie.
I wasn't supposed to think about this. I'm the talent. Get someone else to think for me, okay?
Honestly, you're hilarious.
Oh,
man. It's funny because, okay, this is maybe just me, right? But I feel like Toho and Eurobeat, right? Well, for Eurobeat specifically, right? It's either people who really like street racing or people who are usually trans femme, right? Mm-hmm. But also just like trans people in general seem to really like Eurobeat. I don't know what it is. Yeah. But also, the VTubing space in general seems to really like Eurobeat. Like, I'll just be playing Eurobeat one time, like on stream. People be like, "Oh my God, is this Eurobeat?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I didn't know anybody knew what this was. I didn't know anybody knew what Eurobeat was."
See, that's the thing. Eurobeat's been one of the best kept secrets in the music world for some multiple decades now. Ooh, okay, we're hitting on a subject that I could go on about for a hot minute, because like for a little bit there, or actually for a big chunk of Eurobeat's life, it was essentially landlocked. And, exports from Japan would kind of happen almost by accident or almost begrudgingly in some cases. But, even as far back as like the mid-90s here in the States, we were getting glimpses of it. Some of the early hits like Deja Vu, Space Boy running in the 90s, some of the stereotypical stuff. And we loved it. Even stuff like Speedy Cat and Catch That Man, that kind of thing. Like, it's embedded in the internet's DNA, and not just in Japan. And then over time, Eurobeat has always been about a huge like variety of things. Yeah, there's the Initial D, connection there, and don't get me wrong, like that's still fantastic. But Eurobeat has existed way before Initial D was ever published. Like I think there's some 8 years between the first volume of Super Eurobeat and the first volume of the Initial D manga. But it's always kind of been a thing because, like, think about it from I think from a trans femme perspective, it's this fast, energetic genre that can be distinctly gendered, but also there's a lot of artists that will play around with it. Like there's a sub alias of Dave Rogers where the voice is pitched up and it's a femme alias and the lyrics are definitely like femme coded. There's Dee Dee from David DiMarcantonio, where the alias like Rose and John, it's just David kind of pitched up or whatever, and a lot of it's unashamedly feminine. It's not some haha voice pitched up, look at that. It's like, yeah, there's an earnestness to it, and with that, it's just a fun, energetic, silly little genre, and I feel like it's a similar thing that draws a lot of us to Toho. There's all these little sub niches in our own particular variety of weebness, if you will. It's like, this fascinates me. This tickles my interest. This stimulates, parts of my brain that I really enjoy. And in terms of the VTubing space too, I think not only do we have, that general appeal from Japanese media, but even more specifically, a lot of idol groups have done a lot of Eurobeat, covers and remixes in their time. For instance, Night of Fire had a cover by Hinoi Team back in the 90s, and that's saying nothing of like Utada Hikaru, Ayumi Hamasaki. A lot of the like 1990s and 2000s idols did a lot of work in the Eurobeat space. There are full volumes of purely just Ayumi Hamasaki Eurobeat remixes.
Yeah,
and
that's really cool. I didn't even know about that.
And when we think about like Eurobeat's roots in the idol space, it kind of makes sense because, if you're influenced by idols, you're probably looking back as far back as, Yumi Hamasaki, Hinoi Team, Dream, Globe, even Move. Like a lot of their career was built. Well, I wouldn't necessarily call them in the idol space per se, but a lot of their work was very much beloved and very much in the Eurobeat space. So it makes perfect sense to me that even outside of an Initial D context, a lot of VTubers and a lot of trans femmes and a lot of trans femme VTubers are very into Eurobeat.
Checks out then.
Yeah, it's the Eurobeat to transfer pipeline.
Here I thinking I have an epiphany and I'm just like, oh, this is normal.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I've yet to meet someone who doesn't, even at least just a little bit ironically like Eurobeat. Because, like, it's silly. It's not so, how do I say, even when when it is serious, and I do think Eurobeat can be a vessel for, like, genuine expression and seriousness and even sorrow, it's still not so full of itself that it cannot be enjoyable. Like you could show someone like a really serious track like Frontal Impact by Daniel, or Right Now by who did Right Now? I think I'm sorry, I need to pull up the alias just to make sure that I get it right. But a lot of these things, like even then, it's still very much it's just a fun listen, and who doesn't like that? Especially nowadays, we don't need all of our music to be like deep emotional experiences. We have Porter Robinson already. We don't need that.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Right Now by Dark Angels over at Delta. Yeah. Like, I don't know, I spent a lot of time thinking about like just the way that Eurobeat intersects, into so many spheres that are sort of rolling back around now. Like even I was surprised by when Matara Khan during the Hollywood days of her career, she actually reached out about a track together. And then when her Hollywood career came to a close, I figured like, okay, whatever happens from here, she's probably not gonna do that. But she actually seemed to click quite a bit with Eurobeat and knew quite a few titles, not just within the Initial D sphere, but she actually had a pretty good knowledge of, some stuff outside there. So it was really fun to work with her on what she wanted for Night cover, because like it wasn't just going to be, some sound-alike or anything. It was like kind of uniquely our own thing. Like we each were able to bring our own things to it. Yeah, and like trying to think of who else, like Chibidoki, for instance. I had the pleasure of working on a track for her during one of her like model debuts. And it turns out that she's extremely knowledgeable about Eurobeat. I think she was introduced through a friend, and then she got really into it in her own terms.
That's how it always ends up, right?
Yeah. Like, and don't get me wrong, I never want to shame someone when they're like, oh yeah, I like Initial D, I like Dave Rogers, Nico, but there's this wealth of music and expression. There's this whole world out there of Eurobeat that's even further. There's like the indie stuff, the stuff that's published in Japan, the smaller labels, the indie names that are just starting to get a name for themselves, or the indie names that haven't built a name for themselves. And with that, you get just this broad spectrum of what Eurobeat can be and why it appeals to so many people. God, I am holding a tamper on myself to make sure I just don't keep you here for like 3 hours straight.
No, you're fine. Yeah, Eurobeat was introduced to me through my partner, actually. I had no idea Eurobeat was a thing until I met him like 2 years ago. And then the floodgates opened.
Yup.
It's usually how it
multiple
goes.
Decades of music. Actually,
Pretty much.
It's interesting.
Well, now I have everything to listen to, and I'm playing Valorant, so.
Nice. Oh gosh, Valorant.
It gets me in the mood. Ah, yes, Valorant.
Yeah. I'm awful at FPSs, so the most that I can do is like, we have Orihime and Alexandria at home. It's just, 35, what's the healer's name? I'm sorry.
So Sage is a healer in
Sage, that's
in
the one.
Valorant.
35
Yes.
Sage.
There's also Sky. Sky's also technically can also heal as well.
That's right.
But one of them's Initiator, and one of them is a Sentinel, and one of them can heal much more than the other. But one of them can heal himself, and the other can't.
I'm hard stuck on Brimstone. He's the only one that I know how to properly play at the moment.
Brimstone. Brimstone's a good choice, though.
Yeah.
It's a starter character, so it's not surprising, But good choice. Good choice.
Thank you. Yeah. Open up the sky. And
you and my partner are similar in that sense. God dang it.
Yeah.
It's also his first choice.
Mm-hmm. And then I watched a few other streamers that I know that play Valorant. And it's like, oh, they seem to play a lot of Brimstone too. I feel good about that. I feel some relief.
Like bonding over Brimstone.
Yeah, exactly. Beats bonding over sulfur.
Man. So next question. So sorry.
No worries.
How would you say that Vtubing has helped you discover more about yourself?
Ooh, okay. So, by having a more comfortable vessel, and one that I don't have to maintain as much or worry about if I maintain properly, to a certain spec to be on stream, it's allowed me to be more comfortable in how I interact. And it's not like I was uncomfortable before, like for, the times that I did face streams, but it allowed me to kind of be more playful, a little bit more comfortable. I remember I used to have a pretty, not a hands-off relationship with a lot of my audience, so much as like I didn't really banter a certain way. And then as I started VTubing, I noticed that people would react in certain ways. They would play back a little bit. It's like, I remember thinking after I came out and like after I started VTubing, it's like, you know what? I see myself as like really girly and really like soft and gentle, and then I'd pop on and people go, mommy, sorry, mommy. And the first time that happened, without skipping a beat, without thinking about it, my response is, welcome back, honey. You must be absolutely exhausted. Please let me get your coat for ah! Like, wait, where did that come from? But
this is the pipeline.
Been cool to kind of, but it was fun to kind of explore that and find out that there is this like more womanly side of me that I actually was kind of holding myself back by not allowing myself to explore that side of me. And, seeing how people reacted to those elements being present in me, it kind of allowed me to be like, okay, maybe I can explore this a little bit. Maybe I can play with it a little bit and see, which elements of it are me and which ones are, a little bit beyond who I'm trying to be. And it kind of allowed me to just kind of look into myself a little bit and be like, oh, what do I click with? What don't I click with? Another thing too was like, it's not that I didn't have a sexuality before I came out. It's more just I didn't really know how to express it, or I was very uncomfortable expressing it. I didn't really know it too well. So the idea of having a flirty sense of humor, if you told me like 4 years ago that I'd be doing the usual like ada and like the Shinkon Santaku kind of thing, I'd probably call you bonkers.
Probably.
But yeah, no, like it's a lot of fun to just kind of like, hey, I'm gonna set off some neurons in your brain today. I'm gonna tease a little bit, and it's fun. And it's also been amazing to see which of my friends react in certain ways to that. It's like, oh, like, is this, you're approaching me? And like, obviously I'll check in as like, hey, if ever this gets in this kind of banter gets uncomfortable or ever, something like that, please let me know. But they're like, oh yeah, no, believe me, not only are you good, I'm probably going to encourage you further. It's like, so you're going to communicate with me, yeah? Yeah, I'll let you know. All right, good girl.
The classic VTuber banter, you kind of end up falling into it, It's
a little bit, yeah.
It's like, well, this is quite fun. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Like,
so
within some limitations, I do have some friends that have their boundaries. Like, okay, I'll respect that. And there's some friends that I'll never banter like that with. It's like, you know what? That's totally fair. This is not all there is to me. Like, you're not just interacting with some like pull string ada dispenser. Like, we've got other stuff to talk about. On the same token, there's so many friends where, we were chill before, like for years. There's a couple of DJ friends that I knew back in the Bernie convention days. We were just kind of chill. We were just kind of cool or whatever. And then after I came out, I would drop an ada here and there, and they would just kind of hit me with the PN emoji. It's like, oh. So not only are you a good DJ, you're also a good boy, huh? And it's just like, it's been weirdly fun to like discover that just with friendships back in the day too. It's just like, so yeah, I feel like that's been one of the big things that VTubing specifically has allowed me to do. Cause like, I feel like if I was still worried about how I came across on camera, I wouldn't have that confidence to kind of step over, outside of my comfort zone. And that's kind of played well into, it hasn't just been a VTuber thing. Like even when I do show up on camera or when I'm somewhere in person, a lot of that confidence has carried over really well.
Yeah, that's super, super good to hear. I love seeing VTubing changing like people's, people's perspective of life, of themselves, of identity,
Yeah,
It usually is a good thing, so it's always a pleasure to see. Absolutely.
It makes sense too, because like having an avatar of any sort, it is a vessel. Because like once we remove ourselves from, to some extent from the one that we have in Meat Space, and we try it in like in VTubing or VR chat or something like that, it's amazing what elements of us stay and which elements of us change. And I found that like VTubing has a similar effect to VR chat in terms of like, all right, you can have whatever kind of vessel, whatever kind of body you want. What do you pick?
Normally a cat girl.
Yeah, let's go. I feel like I've got more of a bunny girl vibe going on. Actually, the wonderful thing about working with Nijitan in particular is that they'll knock out just full sets of costumes just out of the blue. Case in point.
Oh, I love this. Let's go.
Yeah. And,
it's so cute.
Yeah, pyon. I don't know. I vibe with the bunny stuff. Like, don't get me wrong. I enjoy a classic, transom nya, good kitty kind of thing. But like, I don't know. For me, I've always had this Playboy bunny kind of vibe going on.
It works though. It works. I love it.
Thank you.
For me, it's like Kirara from Genshin Impact. I don't know why, but I like wearing her skin. That sounds super weird. I like the avatar.
I understand what you meant. Out of context, that sound like, oh god, what's going on? But like, I understand it too, because like there were certain avatars in VR chat that I would hop into by default, and among those were some cat girls and things like that. So it's just like, I get what you mean.
I don't know what it is though. Maybe it's because like the little paws on the feet. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Perhaps a stature.
I studied a little bit of like game design and game development in my university days. Obviously not putting that to much work, but there is something about adapting into a persona like that, even just trying something on, that is very powerful. There's elements of other characters that we identify with. Otherwise, if we didn't click with them on some level as like another person, as a human, fiction would be arbitrary. We wouldn't relate to it. We wouldn't be able to see things that we admire in other characters and in other beings, whether they're human or humanoid or just have personality traits. So the things that you have with is it Kirara in Genshin?
Kirara. She's like a cat girl type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not very well versed in Genshin. All I know is that
you are fine.
Cordially invite Alhaitham to scramble my guts. Like when you take on some element of like another character, even if you are embodying them to the best of your ability, there is still some part of you that is in there. Like, so, having this representation of myself on here, there are some differences. There are, I don't have hair this long yet, and you know, the girls
The
are still
ears,
making
yeah.
their way. Yeah, also the ears, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. My mistake.
Yeah, it's all good. I invite you to, you know, my eyes are up here, but you're free to look wherever.
Oh, hold on.
But there is that sense of like, you know, how we proceed through certain vessels, you know, not necessarily being held back through one form of expression. So there is that sense of play that we have in that, and by doing that, we bring, you know, more of ourselves to the table, including the parts that we may not know that we're bringing to the table. So like having, you know, characters that we relate to, or, you know, avatars that we'll pick, or even just traits, like in my case, the Playboy bunny approach to things. You know, it's like, I mean, granted, we already have a good number of bunny VTubers. I'm already very much a fan of Cottontail, and I know Numi, one of my Oshis, has her bunny girl outfit, but like, I don't know, like there's ways that I do it that's a little bit different, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still just kind of, the wonderful thing is the process of finding ourselves and what we relate to is never done. Up until the day that we aren't, we have a lot of time to figure out things about what we are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, what would you say to somebody who was looking at VTubing as an option to being their truest self in content creation?
What would I say to someone who's looking at VTubing? Ooh, okay. I would first advise, just on a general level, that VTubing doesn't have to be expensive. There are ways to, you know, PNG tubing is extremely valid and fantastic, and there's so many ways to get that to happen. So many wonderful ways to get that to work and to start. I would even say, start streaming in general. See if you even need an on-screen representation of you. A lot of people get into VTubing with the sense that they want to be a VTuber when they may not even want to be a streamer. But if you do find that, you know, streaming clicks with you, then it's like, okay, do you want a representation of you on screen? Would you be more comfortable on camera? Would you rather have PNG? Would you someday like to have like a moving one? And then in terms of the identity aspect, which I do think VTubing, to which I think VTubing lends itself well, it's a matter of, you know, what aspects would you want to bring to this? Like if you were in VR chat and you could dream up any possible representation of you, you know, an avatar, even if it's just another character, you know, if you could VTube as anything, VTube as a verb, I'm not sure if that works. But
yeah, that works.
If you could, you know, VTube as any character or any characters, you know, which ones would they be and why? And then you can kind of inform yourself on what you're looking for in your own representation. It could be that you want to just stream as, I don't know, like a Toho character or, you know, a game character, or maybe you just want to do VR chat. And from there, you can kind of figure out, you know, how to represent yourself on stream. And that's just in terms of like oneself on stream. From there, it's, I would also think like a lot of people like to, you know, take up a character, so they got to speak a certain way. They'll see Picora and think, I need to figure out my own Peko. It's like, you don't have to do that. I would almost advise, you know, if you are going to have a character, make it one that's easy for you, you know, one that's not a far reach from yourself. I easy moded in that my avatar is literally just me, you know, but sort of idealized. Yeah, but like, even if you do want a character, you know, you have like space robot ninja McGee, you know, then it's like, it's got to be your own version of space robot ninja McGee, where it's like, you know, it's still you somewhere in there. Because like a lot of VTubers are kind of fall out of the kayfabe into their own self anyway at some point. Not to say that a kayfabe is a bad thing, but make it easy to be yourself. And then from there, don't make the mistake that I did of keeping your head down, and just be good to people, be friendly with people, interact with people. Obviously, you know, be safe to yourself, protect yourself, but being in this space, like who you are is not just who you are to yourself. It's who you are to other people, not just to your community, but to other creators, to other folks in the space. And who you are as a VTuber is still a separate thing from who you are as a content creator. This is still content creation. I think it was Mari Yume who said, VTubing itself is not content creation. Avatars are not content. You know, and the content that you want to make, that can be a big part of how you express yourself. Like for me, it's Eurobeat. You know, it's Eurobeat and the occasional game and, you know, the occasional PG-13 joke. But, you know, finding out who you are as a streamer, and then as a VTuber, and then as, you know, someone in this larger space, there's value to that. And I think a lot of that just comes from just starting and figuring out figuring out even some janky ways to get started. Like, you're not going to be perfect. Your first stream is going to be scuff. You will look back on it and cringe. But
I do.
It'll be where you started. It'll be you figuring yourself out and starting this journey. Like all things, it starts with that first step.
That was very well put, Odyssey. Very, very well put. And so, is there anything else that you want people to know about your experiences in the community?
That's a really good question. I think
This is the open-ended question. Yeah.
I guess like I'm still kind of figuring out my role in this space. Because don't get me wrong, I've been extremely well received, and I'm honored to have interacted with the folks that I have, and I'm interacted to like call any number of other VTubers and creators friends. I feel like this has been a year of me learning to pull my head back up and click with people and interact with people. So while I don't know for sure, where I fit in the VTuber space, I do think that people have been very kind. I know that I fit somewhere and somehow. I don't know, it's been... Goodness, words are failing me. I've had so many today, so now it's
You're
just like...
fine.
Wait.
Take your time.
It's been weird because I've been doing content to some extent, music, for so long that I still feel very new in the VTubing space. I've been doing it for like some 2-3 years now, but it's almost felt like not a triviality, but it's almost felt like the words are failing me because like I feel like I belong here. I feel like I'm well received. It's like where is this? Where do I fit? Am I doing okay? Like, am I being
You're
good to
doing great.
others? Am I? Thank you. It's weird because like I'll have the honor of working on stuff with Matar Khan, or I'll hang out with some other folks that I very much admire from time to time. But it's also like, am I being good to people, or am I just kind of like hanging out with people, or is that the same thing? I'm grateful for everyone that's shown me warmth and kindness in this new space. And the folks in the Eurobeat world, I appreciate that they've, for the most part, been extremely open to me, trying new things, like getting the word out about Eurobeat in new ways, and building connections outside of what people might expect. It's a little bit daunting sometimes, because like I don't... there's no roadmap for this. There was no like Eurobeat marketing 101. Here's how to promote this. I mean, there's some stuff for like streaming and VTubing, but
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's every journey's different.
Yeah, it feels like such a weird mishmash of like the music spaces, the Dojin music spaces, the VTuber space, the streamer space. Like, wait, am I good to be in all these like circles at the same time?
Yes,
it's working out pretty well. Yeah, it's working out well,
Absolutely.
and I hope that it keeps being this good.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to provide me with your experiences and talk about the topic and it's really interesting to have gotten to hear all a bunch of different experiences that you had in the VTubing space, but also in the Eurobeat space, and how it all kinds of comes together and creates this little happy harmony between everything. So
I see what you did there. Happy harmony, very cute.
Yes.
And thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. Like, I remember, I was quite surprised and honored when you approached me for this, because wow, so, like I said, I don't know, where I fit or if I'm authoritative on anything. So to be asked for my take on stuff, I am quite honored.
From what I hear is, from what I've noticed anyway, there is no real authority on what it's like being transgender in the VTubing space, or the way to do it, or the way that it's meant to be. At the end of the day, everyone's experiences kind of come together, and they paint different pictures of what it's like. But what my hope is that through this, people can take what's said in these interviews and internalize it and think for themselves like, is this something that I truly want to do, and is it going to make me happy? And I'm hoping that this can give them the push that they need to do what they want for themselves.
That is a wonderful thing to be doing, honestly. And I hope that the folks that are listening in right now, or are listening into other interviews, find themselves compelled and inspired to do what they're looking for in the way that they want to do it. There's no time like the present. Don't wait 20 years. Don't wait some 30 odd years to do what you got to do or be who you need to be. The time is now.
Exactly.